Welcome to Movie and a Beer, everybody. This is Dan bringing us in, and on this amazing, I'm going to say it 4 or 5 times, episode, we're going to be talking about a surfer movie with our 3 usual awesome friend co-hosts, and I'm staring blankly at them and waiting for them to speak
Blank. I'm Aaron. I'm your Bodhisattva expert.
Bodhisattva.
I'm Blake. I'm your Keanu Reeves expert.
Keanu what?
And I'm Brian, your Southern California expert.
That one's actually true.
It is sort of SoCal. So we recently
Blue Crush.
watched a movie.
The hit surfing movie.
Starring
Michelle Rodriguez.
Called Point Break from 1991.
Yeah.
And it stars a couple of now somewhat famous, or had been famous.
Well, Patrick Swayze's, I guess...
He was famous in the 80s.
He's infamous now because he passed away relatively soon after these movies.
Did he?
He's been dead for a while.
Really?
Yeah, this film was mid-career for him.
Yeah.
But early career for Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
Oh.
But it's got
early on.
Patrick Swayze, Keanu Reeves, Gary Busey, Johnson McGinley.
Yeah.
Lori Petty.
Who's Tank Girl. That
Correct.
was kind of the biggest thing, but she's great in it.
Yes. We knew what we were going to watch. I went out and sought beers that were...
That were going to crush us like a wave.
amicable to both the name of the movie and the plot and story of the movie.
And character names.
And I thought I got pretty close at that. We got something from Oceanside, California, and something from Seattle, Washington. And so...
Seaside, California.
Seaside, yeah, sorry. Why did I put...
Both places with the crunchiest of waves.
Yes. It'll be really interesting to hear the gentlemen speak about these beers in a little bit. But before we do that, we're going to talk about Johnny Utah and how Johnny, or John, played by Keanu Reeves.
Oh, you mean Johnny Unitas?
So here's my fan theory. I'm just going to put it out there
Yeah,
at the very beginning.
Tell the
how
people.
How many movies does he play with the name John?
We've got Point Break.
Yep.
Johnny Utah. We got Johnny Mnemonic.
Yep.
John Constantine.
Yep.
I forget the rest.
John Wick.
John Wick.
There's lots of dudes named John.
And there are 3 John Wick movies.
And there's
soon to be
up to
4th.
this point, so 4.
Yeah.
So we're up to 7.
So needless to say, my idea was that my fan theory, which is amazing, is that these are all stories that occur in the Matrix. They're just being retold to him because he's the lead act, one of the lead actors.
He's the guy playing
and
the
his name
game.
is John in all of them.
So,
They're
Dan,
connected in some way.
what studios put out all of these movies?
Probably all different ones, but that doesn't matter.
So all the studios are collaborating.
They all collaborate.
okay.
You know they collaborate on
Not
stuff.
since Marvel and
every
DC made
studio-
Amalgamation Comics have we gotten such a crossover.
I know, right?
Every studio is in the Matrix.
They are. That's what's
Brian,
crazy. I'm like, I'm not
that's
making
next
it
level.
up.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is meta, baby.
I gotta walk away.
All right,
I'm gonna
so
just go home.
classic 1990s.
But anyway, this is a surfer movie.
It's about surfers.
It's a surfer movie, bank robbing movie. It's a bank heist, FBI chasing kind of movie.
This is a movie about freedom and independence and your ability to choose your own.
riding the waves.
Yes,
of
riding the
life.
waves
Yeah.
or shooting guns.
Meatball
I mean, those are your
sandwiches.
options.
Well,
You're either
yeah.
riding. The opening scene is you're either shooting a gun or surfing a wave. I'm like, there's the system or surfing. I mean, there is no in between.
There's riding a coffin on the concrete highway for hours every morning.
Yes.
Or there's freedom.
Right. And that's what Bodhi is selling to everybody. He's selling freedom. He's selling authentic experience. He's selling
He's selling dead presidents.
Not a 9 to 5.
You gotta live this life, man. You gotta live this life and
in
fund
order
it.
to live that life, he's got to rob banks.
Right.
Correct.
And take money from all the people who are sacrificing
Which-
all this time stuck in traffic.
Quick piece of trivia, and this is a spoiler alert if you haven't seen it. It's however many years old at this point.
91.
It's 30.
1991 is a while ago.
So yeah,
31-year-old
obviously
movie.
a lot of the characters die towards the end. The order the guys get murdered, or the order the presidents ended their presidencies.
What?
Whoa. I hadn't noticed that.
I didn't notice either until I was reading the trivia. I thought, no, yeah
Makes
he goes,
sense.
and then he goes. Nixon makes it last. Carter second. Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah. There's
Yeah,
Wow.
all right. So this is not a PG-13 film.
No, it's
There's
rated R. Clearly
Nudity. It's R. So
That is
is it
Is blood,
children
is swearing?
appropriate? Is
No.
it kid appropriate? Is
Uh,
it teenager appropriate? No. This is an R-rated. Lots of there's no like sex scenes, but there's a lot of frontal and
There's
full body.
there's nudity,
and
there's death, there's narcotics references. I think there's actually
The
meth
two
on
keys
screen.
for
There's
meth.
violence.
Yeah, it's
Punching and
violent
shooting.
driven. Violence is the storyline. It's like fighting against the system using violence.
Well,
And
I
there-
think the story is you see Johnny become more rounded. He shows up like prim and proper, ready to work for the FBI. And Lori Petty even points out partway through the movie, man, you look happy finally.
Right.
You look so focused and serious all the time, like you're doing a school project, but now you actually seem happy. And he eventually accepts that, yeah, there's more to life than just working for the man and
Yeah, well,
just
I think one of the central
doing the grind.
One of the central themes of this movie is like there's a choice of like this soul crushing existence where you've got like kind of this colorless or chasing the high.
They even show what the office when they first walk in. It's hazy. It's all whites and beiges.
Yep, and there's like kind of lots of meaningless clatter in the background of people like pushing paper and doing things, but none of it's like obviously important, right? And none of it has obvious purpose, I should say.
The movie was directed by Catherine Bigelow, who also directed Blue Steel with Jamie Lee Curtis. And this, as some of the, I guess you would say, critics have said, this is a remake of that, but with Keanu Reeves.
Interesting. I've never heard that.
I haven't seen Blue Steel.
I like
haven't
it.
seen Blue Steel, so I can't comment.
I only think of the Zoolander.
Yeah, no.
Hey, we're getting a new look.
Bodhi or Bodhisattva, or there's different terms that he's called within the movie. But Patrick Swayze, I mean, you had mentioned, Aaron, that you didn't think he really pulled it off very well because his character is kind of stiff a little bit. He's like just playing it along, or
Yeah, I mean,
And Patrick Swayze is kind of hard to see as a spiritual guru, just based on previous roles I've seen him in.
yeah,
I mean, he ripped a guy's throat out in Roadhouse. It's not very chill.
Which was just 2 years prior to this film.
right.
He had a big run through the late 80s, early 90s.
But I also think maybe too the character, Patrick Swayze as a spiritual guru is hard to buy into. But then also too, I mean, this character ultimately is kind of selling a false idea. Like,
Right. He does not practice on the waves, he practices what he preaches.
Right.
But he's also kind of
he's a typical preacher,
a killer,
Yeah.
and he's not loyal to his group of bank robbers.
Right.
No,
I
not
mean,
at
he
all.
cuts bait often. He just
right.
leaves them.
Yep. And then I think there's a bit of con man to him.
Yeah,
in that
he's a false prophet.
He's selling this kind of spiritual enlightenment, but he doesn't actually have it, and he doesn't actually know how to get somebody else there. So and I don't know if that's like intentional or if it's just like the way that Patrick Swayze kind of presents.
I think it was intentional. I think the people who made the movie, say what you will about the movie, I think it's good. There's some hokey stuff. There's some stuff we all point out.
There's a
like,
lot
this
of
doesn't really
continuity
work.
issues with this one, but that's okay.
I think they did a good job with him going with that route where he, sold a false bill of goods while claiming, this is lifestyle lead, but really, I mean, ultimately, he just wants to find his big rush, his big high.
He
And
wants to fuck around.
Like,
wait.
Oh,
Sorry.
we'll beep you on that one.
But I meant he wants to mess around. He wants to have fun.
He wants to F word around. Yes.
Yes,
But Swayze took some stuff from his surfing. Like, he has friends who surf, who have that kind of mentality of, man, you just feel the waves feel you. You just get in there. You're one with it, man.
So that felt
and he
real.
took some of that.
That part felt real.
He apparently just knows people knew people like that.
That part feels real. The whole bank robbery thing and cops don't show up for 90 seconds and you get away and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, no, not really in real life.
90 seconds is an incredible response time, though.
Yeah.
I mean, can you get anywhere in 90 seconds?
No.
Especially in L.A. Like,
Right.
that's a lot of
LA.
traffic. LA.
The question I have, why
42.
Why presidents? And what's the message or what's the commentary with the president?
The
masks?
first robbery, they talk about it, how they kept referencing, I'm not going to remember any of the terminology, but they kept referencing like the ideas they might have pushed and like the capitalist vibe of presidency and the American way while robbing people of the money that they were working so hard to deposit and take out.
And the final
it was
bank
like
robbery.
it was like a allegory.
Yes, the final bank robbery then they didn't stick to the script.
Nah.
They went off script, people died. And then, of course, there's a scene at a gas station, and Reagan.
I think Brian or Aaron pointed out that Reagan with the flaming gas.
That was
gas
Brian.
Just
Right,
like that's
Burning it
that's-
all down.
It's like, boy, how don't that feel real?
Yeah, it's burning it all down. Thanks.
But also really a visually striking scene.
Oh, yeah.
Who doesn't want to light a gas dispenser on fire at a gas station and burn everybody?
right.
Yeah, well,
okay.
Reagan would. or not.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna.
I'm not saying I want to do that.
All right, gang, we're gonna take a pivot into hard politics.
I know, right?
No more fun.
So there's
and actually that scene was followed by a really striking visual scene of a foot chase where one of the people was still smoking from being on fire.
Another piece of trivia
that was really stunning.
Another piece of trivia that was Swayze's stuntman, because Swayze was busy promoting Ghost, because Ghost came out in 1990. And he was promoting that movie. So for that scene, since he keeps the mask on the whole time, stuntman doing the chase.
Yeah.
But I love the chase. I thought it was really, really cool. It did that classic, you follow the chasee like through the section of the house in the background, and then the chaser through the section of the house. The synth music was really like perfectly of the time, and it fit the speed of it. I just really like a good action scene.
And there, some of it was almost handy cam, or like
it was
done
very
in
steady
that
cam,
sense.
shaky.
Yeah, it felt like you were the POV of the person chasing the antagonist.
Yeah.
So I like the chase scene, and I like it was like it had the right intensity, it had the right rhythm to it. But the movie as a whole, the timing of it surprised me a little bit, and not in a bad way. Like there was a lot of lead up where our hero. Our main character,
Jonathan Utanis.
Yes, Jonathan Utah Esquire, who he's undercover, and then he gets pulled into events. It's a 40-year-old movie, but 30-year-old movie. By this point, I'm not going to plot spoil everything though.
Yeah.
But
Anthony Kiedis gets shot in the foot. Come on.
Well, I mean, like
spoil it.
But then there's still
Something
another
scar tissue.
30 minutes of movie that's still engaging, even after what I thought was going to be kind of like the climax and like everything coming together. Of like, oh, he got pulled into this caper, and now he has to decide on his loyalties as an FBI agent.
In the 2000s, that would be the climax.
Right,
That's kind of when they would wrap things up. But this is a 2-hour movie.
Well, I would argue, and I'm not going to break it all down for you, but I would say that most movies are a 3-act structure.
Yeah.
And I would say this movie is kind of a 5-act structure.
Yeah.
Which is more of a Shakespearean, great dramatic or great comedic,
like Hamlet.
structure.
Yeah.
And
so the points break at slightly different places.
So
we definitely had a point in time where we started talking about, we drank the second beer. We started with the first one and went to the second one when there was a clear break, and all of us kind of tipped our cans and like, all right, time to do the second one.
It was poetic from my point of view, because I watched the three of you just simultaneously knock them back, and it's like this is feels like something out of the world's end. I love it.
So Brian's like, there. I'm not going to break it down for you, and then Dan's like, there's a point when he did this. I'm just wondering how many puns can we break out with point
and break.
Yes.
Well, I was also going to make a point.
I see the point you're breaking here.
I was also going to make a point, kind of segueing back to how Patrick Swayze's character Bodhi really made an effort to make it about himself and no one else. Like his ex-girlfriend, like obviously he still has feelings for her, but you're willing to use her as bait. I mean, it's like, come on. I'm like, oh yeah, no, he's not gonna.
He's
hurt
a bit
her.
psychopathic.
He's
a classic narcissist.
Bodhi's cool guy image really shatters.
He should have really worn a Trump mask.
This movie's already been remade once, but it needs to be remade again.
Wait, there was a remake? What was it? Was it good? Was it not good?
It was boring.
Was it the same presidents?
I don't remember. It was like when they remade RoboCop
and it was
and
called Point Broken.
It was like when they remade RoboCop and Total Recall. It was fine. It was boring. You could have just renamed it some other movie and it'd been a little better. What is amazing though,
I don't feel like this movie needs a remake. Sorry,
it doesn't.
Go ahead.
No. What this movie has spawned is something called Point Break Live, a piece of cult theater in which the role of Johnny Utah is played by an audience member chosen by popular acclamation after a brief audition. So every other one of the cast members is a regular. They do that same role every night. And as a running gag about Keanu's acting, which for a while pretty wooden, pretty straightforward,
a little rough.
The joke was anyone could get up and do his roles. And so, if the four of us went to this thing and one of us got up there, it could be Dan reading, walk around with a surfboard, being yelled at by a guy playing.
You have to go down, Bodhi. It has to go down this way. You have to go down. They're flying in the helicopter
with the guy
right
shaking
now.
a thunder sheet and like caw, 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 and someone waving rain sheets. Yeah. Point Break Live is a legit thing. Gary Busey and Lori Petty have both shown up for the like to watch it.
That's
and,
really funny.
And to be the Johnny Utah in the scene.
That's really funny.
That's really hilarious, dude.
Like I love when stuff like that happens. Like how everyone has embraced Die Hard being a Christmas movie and doing Nakatomi Plaza Drop for New Year's. Just the love of Gremlins, where everyone's like, "Oh man, we're gonna have like this whole thing around Gremlins."
Movie
I love
culture.
that point. Yeah, exactly. Like just this Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Right.
Where people have embraced like this is a weird movie. We're weirdos. We're gonna do weird shit watching the movie.
Right. The cult aspect that some movies gain.
That's why it surprises me when I meet people who haven't seen Point Break, which, there's a lot of media. You're not gonna see everything.
Right.
But I'm always surprised thinking, wow, I guess not everyone's seen this. It feels like to
this
me
is my
everyone's seen it.
No, this is my first viewing of Point Break. I've never seen it before tonight.
How'd you like it on the first viewing?
I think I like 7 out of 10. I know it's
That feels
like,
fair.
Yeah,
That's fair.
like it's a nice movie. It's somewhat dated in some respects.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Like, and I think there are parts of the villain that seem slightly contrived or maybe one dimensional. But there's kind of character growth with our main character. I think the conflict is natural. All of the decisions the characters make sense for the most part.
Yeah.
And-
It was a 90s movie coming out of the 80s.
Right.
It was kind of fast and loose.
The thing to me, this really felt like an 80s movie. The soundtrack felt very 80s to me because I think, in the 80s there was like Def Leppard and, and in the 90s,
Rat has a song.
then it was
on
all
the
like
album.
Alice in Chains and Nirvana. Like, so like a real clear difference in the music.
Oh, yeah.
And I almost wonder if like, the movies, the soundtracks I'm sure changed very much kind of along those fault lines too. Mm-hmm. Because I don't think we'd see, after 1991, I don't think we're going to see like Def Leppard or, that type of White Snake or whatever.
Probably, mostly for comedies, played for comedic effect.
Maybe in comedies
kind of thing.
not another teen movie or like frat house movies.
Balls of Fury did that a lot because that was a running thing, but yeah.
But like, I think this might have been one of the last movies to use like the 80s type of music.
Kind of hair band music.
Hair metal. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't disagree with that. So it has like Rat, Concrete Blonde, Jimi Hendrix has a song in it, School of Fish, Public Image Limited, a group called Shark Island. I have no idea who that is. Sheryl Crow. Before Sheryl Crow became
That don't impress me much.
famous.
Oh, wow.
This was her break.
Really?
Wow.
I want to know what song it was because I didn't notice.
Hundreds of Tears.
It sounds uplifting.
I imagine it was during one of the
It's
love
off,
scenes.
It's off one of her unreleased albs.
Okay.
Which I happen to have.
As I say, I had the Tuesday, whatever.
The
not
music
Right,
in
right,
this
right.
film was very wall to wall.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like a score. It was very much kind of rocks.
Brian,
rock
can you
music.
explain what wall to wall means?
Wall to wall would be
carpeting.
Yeah, music from the beginning of the film to the end, like just music under every scene.
So less of a needle drop where you save it for like a key part of a scene, but just steady background stuff.
There are some films where the dialogue and the action kind of supports itself, and we don't need a lot of music behind it.
Interesting.
And most movies use music to push the emotion of the scene.
Right.
Correct.
I mean that's something that's done a lot.
The war hero in the trench, you hear violins and cellos.
It tells you how to feel.
Yeah, it gets epic and big.
Yeah.
And if somebody's mom just died, then it's treacly piano.
Mama, don't go.
Or, little like a solo sparse violin thing.
Or when Blade cracks his neck and the dubstep really kicks in.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, wait till the beat goes in.
I'm gonna kill some vampires.
Yeah.
I'm going to take just a second since we're talking about filmmaking with this.
Ooh.
I thought both the car chase and the foot chase, we've already talked about the foot chase a little bit, but from an editing standpoint, it was very well done.
Nice.
Because you never lost track, even though people were driving down this street and that street, you never lost track of geography, where the protagonist and the antagonist were.
Spatially where they were in relation to each other. Yep.
And also, I doubt if anyone else was listening, but the sound design for those scenes
Was really well done.
I heard a lot of screechy tires and the clatter of the arm getting knocked
It is
aside.
very hard to make vehicles sound like naturally where they are with the Doppler effect going away from you or panning across the screen, or a car that is 2 blocks away is going to sound a lot different than one who's doing a tight corner right in front of you.
That makes sense.
And a lot of hubcaps go flying off.
I know.
The ting 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 of a hubcap.
And someone is gonna Foley that or find and edit that tink 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 for every time that little hubcap hits the cement.
The only sound issue I had was in one of the later movie scenes where they're skydiving and Keanu has to drop his gun in order to
clacks against air.
You can hear it clank as soon as he drops it. I'm sitting here going, "Oh my god, he just dropped his this." It was a real. It looked real.
It was an auditory hallucination. Like there was a noise, but I think it was just like something flapping in all the airspeed.
They were trying to tell a story. If we were going with strict reality instead of the enhanced reality of film, we wouldn't have heard any of the dialogue.
I know.
It's just like, loud ass wind.
Yeah, it's like dude jumped out of an airplane, A, without a parachute, and B, without goggles on. I'm like, dude can't see shit, and with a gun in his hand. A big one, too.
That's true.
And I was like, huh, what? Little suspense.
What's funny is Dan's teasing the movie Brian and I are going to write that ties this movie into the Transformers universe, where it's from Megatron's perspective as he flies by and this gun hits his wing. He goes, "Who dare strike Megatron?"
So here's the fun thing: is the person who directed most of the aerial shots that happened. Worked on the Transformers.
That's amazing.
That's in like the trivia stuff that I read. Yeah, no, you just totally. Yeah, no, it's serious. It's because of the action sequences and the filming and stuff. That's where they started out. Was like, we're gonna film, and we talked about that a little bit. It's like you're in the ocean. How are you filming that? There's
that's a very specific skill set.
Yeah, it is. It really is, because you have to be a surfer yourself and know how and when to get those exact shots.
Right.
Well, also keep yourself safe and upright.
Correct.
And also be aware of what the camera is. It's a lot to do.
And how to handle the wave when it crests and goes over you.
Right.
As well as, like the rainy shots at the end of the movie, where it's just like it's raining in front of the camera, but the actor's dry, and then all of a sudden the actor's wet and it's raining everywhere, and then all of a sudden
denim.
I know, it's like Keanu, and we also haven't mentioned, but the locations that they shot this film in were like in Utah, obviously in LA. Some of the beach scenes were in LA, but they were also it's like you're supposed to be in like
Victoria, Australia,
but it's not. It's in
maybe
on the Oregon coast,
New South Wales.
Yeah, no, and all of those small town shots are there. You could actually drive into those towns and see them.
I think I've recognized one of those.
I'm pretty sure that was Cannon Beach or Rockaway.
So my last question before we talk about beer. I'm sure I'll have questions about beer. But my last question for movie is, like, do you guys think that surfer culture was like authentically represented? And I'll say this, like, I came from Minnesota. It's like as far from an ocean as you can grow up. I grew up.
And mountains.
And mountains too. But I remember, like there's a thing called the Midwest work ethic, and we would look down our noses at people that would, like, in Southern California, they'll walk off their jobs to go catch a wave or whatever. And now that I'm older with more life experience, it's like, yeah, those waves don't come around all the time.
You got to take them when they're there.
You got to take them when they're there. You have to balance life and experiences with other responsibilities. And now I wouldn't be nearly so judgmental. But I'm still like, Portland, Oregon is as close as I've ever lived to a coast. I am not in surfer culture.
So I would say it strikes me as fairly authentic.
Okay.
I worked with an editor who would go surfing for 2 or 3 hours before work because 5, 6 a.m. was when the tide was coming in and the waves were better. And my mother-in-law, who was a lawyer, had a lawyer friend down who had an office in the same building, and he'd leave at 1 every day to go surfing.
What's really funny is there's a line in this movie about lawyers not surfing.
There was also, question about when he was out there trying to learn how to surf and, making his ins with the girlfriend, or who became the girlfriend, Lori Petty's character. And she was all about initially like, why you get off my wave? What are you doing here? Because it's like, you're not allowed to encroach on the surfers.
Yeah, there's definitely a surf etiquette in California.
And he asked her, he straight up was like, here's my in. I can ask her to teach me and help me find my ways and find out the one thing that will touch her heart and make her feel
the one thing that'll break the case. The one thing that'll break the case.
It began as a case breaking. It became love.
Well,
it started
as far as the guys who attacked Johnny Utah, the drug dealers, doers. as someone who's known people who were into hard drugs, like quickly disconnected from, that's accurate. They're just randomly violent.
Yeah. Yeah, those guys, I've seen people like that. I've never known
Yeah, they're
anyone
just
personally.
always
so it's like,
aggressive. So I know that part's accurate.
yeah.
I assume Patrick Swayze's hair used to do that.
And
so
all
I'll just
I'm
it's
going to
true.
say is if you're having sex on the beach, it's not fun. That sand gets everywhere.
Sand
You
gets
know what? You know
yeah.
what's more fun than sex on the beach? It's drinking a nice frosty beer in a house.
Actually,
Yes.
beer on a beach is nice.
Yeah,
Beer
I
on the
love
beach is
beach
nice.
beer.
Hey, they had a shot of beach beer. And it was
Delicious Corona.
Corona. And I'm like, there's no way, dude.
Yum,
Yeah,
yum,
no,
yum.
no.
Give me a lime.
All right.
Yeah, that's California.
Yeah, it's kind
All day long.
Yes. And they're not
California
going
and
there.
wherever the Fast and Furious universe is.
Yeah. And again, there's many universes touching base here. We're going to now thank you for listening
Multiverse?
for
This is the
a little-
beer portion of the podcast.
Yes.
We're
gonna-
now in Act 2.
correct. We're going to
We're gonna jump off a plane while we do the podcast now.
But does one of our parachutes not work? Let's trade them all around.
We have to
because-
do a beautiful
Yes.
ballet flying through the air while Dan has to figure out how to edit out all the rushing wind noise.
Thanks for hanging in there and listening. We're going to
You're
talk
welcome.
about some beers now. So we had two beers. One was from Georgetown Brewing, and the other was from Black Plague Brewing. The first one we enjoyed was a normal can size, I guess you would say, a shorty. Not
That's 12 fluid ounce.
yes,
can.
a 12 fluid ounce
Classic
can
size.
called Johnny Utah. Now, why on earth would Georgetown call their beer Johnny Utah?
Because Gary Busey's in the movie.
Because
Yes.
there's an
Wait a
FBI. No, I was going to say one of them's an FBI agent.
Correct.
Yeah, Keanu Reeves' character is named Johnny.
They also have this pale ale is really
He gets
nice.
a little
It's
fire on his.
it's-
It has the
it's-
fire that was on his surfboard later.
Yes. It has flames, and this also has flames in the logo for Georgetown. Not connected, I think, but maybe they are. I don't know. I've been to Georgetown Brewing up in Seattle, and it's in the just north of the Boeing Airfield area
Ah, yes.
in Georgetown, which is the name of the area, and that's why it's called Georgetown Brewing. But Johnny Utah, again, like calling your beer after a character in a movie, there must be a real reason. And I could not find that actual real reason other than that this is a really, I couldn't find the IBUs listed anywhere, but it's like a 5.5%. It's really heavy grapefruit, citrus, and resin. I mean, it's really, really strong forward flavor. It has really a mild malt presence that doesn't stand up to that. Grapefruit and pine that just baps you over the head. So this is kind of like an IPA in a way, but it's a pale ale because it's
Yeah.
not strong enough. IPAs kind of have that. Anything over 6% is an IPA.
Well, I like generally I like the kind of resinous and piney like hop profile that will come. I wouldn't say like I love all IPAs all day. I mean I do like some variety, but this was a nice beer. I think it matched the first part of the movie really, really well. With our main character
Being
know-
really stoic. It tasted very like straightforward, and he was kind of playing a one note for a while.
Yeah.
Right. He was like straight laced, just, Johnny go get him.
Yeah, the
FBI
former-
agent.
former
well, a little bit
quarterback.
of fish out of water. Like he was this college star, big man on campus, and now he's got to put his
He was going to play by the book.
Yeah, but now he's out in the field and he's got these 22-year veterans that he's working alongside, and he's low man on the totem pole.
He's 25 years old. He's still figuring out who he is.
22, wasn't he?
So,
Yeah,
so the
whatever.
amazing
20
thing
something.
is this is a single hop beer. So
Really?
it only has Citra hops in it.
Really?
I did not realize
Yeah,
it
it's
tastes
too-
a little more complex than that.
Two row
I
pale.
genuinely would have said too.
Two row pale in Munich, and so it's really shallow on the malt body. There's not a lot of body in it. It's just like a hop water kind of. It's hazy. It's like it's really a heavier beer. I would say it's basically an IPA, but you can't really call it that if it's not over 6%. So it's a really very pine, orange, grapefruit, very forward, bitter beer.
Well, so
All right,
it is a pale ale.
Yes.
But India pale ale just tends to have like more hop presence,
6%.
right?
If it's above 6%, it's an
ABV?
IPA. Yes, ABV.
Really?
That's kind of the cutoff.
All right. I never knew ABV was part of the criteria.
Yeah.
Huh.
They're the exact same recipes, just, hey, put more malt in it and more sugar, and magically it's an IPA.
Wow.
Well, I, as one of the two movie experts, as I stare at Brian with intent, he went to school for film, and I was a film minor.
I didn't know you were a film minor.
Throwing
Yeah.
shade.
Okay.
I never say because I assume everyone will make fun of me for it. I feel
Ha,
like
Blake was
this
a film
match.
minor.
Haha, you're a nerd. Wait a minute. No, I feel like this beer matched the first half of the movie really, really well. I feel like the taste of it really synced up with like just the visuals, the tone, everything just seemed more before things got crazy. This tasted like, yeah, okay, I'm drinking a beer. It's not nothing out of the ordinary.
I would have to disagree.
Yeah.
How dare you? I'm done.
But
Dan, edit in me stomping away angrily because I don't want to get up.
Yeah.
But I think part of the reason is in the first or second scene, we saw a bunch of people drinking Coronas.
Yes.
And that made me really kind of think back and think about living in Southern California and the surfer culture.
Right.
And I kind of had a taste for a Corona at that moment.
You were hankering for a Corona.
And then I got the Johnny Utah. It was kind of hoppy for me, which is not my favorite profile anyway. And,
That's fair.
And so I kind of felt like it didn't match as much. Mm-hmm. And then when we got to the second beer, which Dan's going to describe for us
In a moment.
I thought the second beer matched much better.
Cool.
I like the second beer a
Dan, go
lot.
ahead and hit pause. Brian, please, with the podcast.
Yeah,
No, that's a good point. I like it.
I would agree also. I think the first one went well with the beginning of the movie because it was brisk and there were things that were happening very quickly. The characters had to face things that happened very quickly. So, hey, if you don't have access to a beer such as this, find an IPA or some a hop beer pale ale or a Corona. You could go there if
Watch
you
the
wanted
movie
to.
on the beach.
Yeah, I'd watch this movie on the beach.
Would you?
I love a beach movie.
Pretty good beach movie.
You know what I love more is the Black Plague Tropicus.
This had some nice kind of pineapple acidity.
Yeah,
There was a little bit of like tropical fruit acidity and tartness to it. I think it really differentiated it from Johnny Utah.
Agreed.
So this is a Tropicus Tropical Pale Ale from Black Plague Brewing. I can get it out. Oceanside, California, which is north of LA.
Seaside, California.
So I have it written here, and it says Oceanside on the can.
It does say Oceanside on the can.
Oh, well, Oceanside, California is actually by San Diego,
Is it?
which would be actually much more appropriate to this film.
Listener,
Correct.
this is hilarious because this is now a running gag that's happened at
Yes.
least 4 times of Oceanside or Seaside. We don't really know.
We don't know.
Well, online it says Seaside, which is
Correct.
up in the middle part of California coast by
Correct.
Monterey.
I think it's okay. So they have an Escondido lounge and an Oceanside tap room. This beer on draft is available at both. So tropical pale ale, 5.3 ABV. It actually does give you the IBUs. It's 45 or 47 IBUs. The hops are Citra and Amarillo. So not just Citra, which is going to give you all that tropical goodness, but it also has Amarillo. But I think that there's a hint of blood orange and grapefruit.
That is what it says on the can.
It has
really
notes of
beautiful. Yes, there's notes of that.
I love me some blood
I-
orange.
There's no way of knowing if they did an adjunct and added something to kind of give that blood orange vibe, because Amarillo and Citra by themselves don't do that.
I was going to say, yeah, there's definitely like fruit sort of acidity, a little bit of tart. I think it matches sort of this warm weather beach vibe, like with the movie, really, really nicely. I'm not going to say like, oh, this makes me want to quit my job and surf and do cocaine, but like it's a beer I like.
Maybe more sleeveless shirts in your future.
Yeah. Maybe I'll grow my hair long like all the surfers. Like,
You've had long
uniformly.
hair
Grow into a
before.
Swayze.
And at least for me, this particular beer was a little more complex.
Oh yeah, way more complex.
There was a couple more flavors I could pick out, and I can't. And it actually went very well with kind of the second half of the movie.
That I'd agree with. Wholeheartedly.
Where it became much more of a psychological movie because Johnny Utah knows that the bank robbers are bank robbers, and the bank robbers know that he's the man.
And
mean,
he knows the bank robbers know.
And he's trying he's trying to
Layers
get the
upon
bank
layers.
robbers to do the right thing.
And man,
And they're trying to corrupt him to become one of them.
that shell game with the
parachutes,
parachutes, man, I loved it. Where they keep swapping around. Actually, you probably like grommets better. Nah, you went like mine. Brody Pack's like crap. You want this one instead. And all Johnny's thinking is, man, if I hit the ground like a splat, I'm gonna be so mad.
Yeah.
I'll be dead and mad.
Well, no, it's like not like I'm gonna. It's like who can I trust? Who in this plane can I trust? And the answer is probably the pilot.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like
So the really cool thing is
But yeah, this beer is delicious.
the malt back end of this is an amazing, really gentle. but stands up and complements what's going on with those hops. That's it's to me, this is an extraordinarily well done beer.
Like a nice balance.
Really nice balance.
I really liked it.
And
I'm
it
sad
says
it's empty.
it just says two row, and I'm like, it can't just be two row because two row doesn't. I mean, what kind of two row and what roaster are they doing?
What is 2-row?
So there are different types of
Hops?
malt, not hops.
Oh, this is malt.
Malt.
I was going to be
grain.
like, Blake, there's different kinds of hops.
Well, I mean, there are different kinds of hops. That's true, but there's also different kinds of malts apparently.
So the grain that they're using
Yeah.
has either 2 rows of kernels, 4 rows of kernels, or
Really,
6 rows of kernels.
it's just that.
That's
That's
what it is, yeah.
interesting.
It's just the strain of the
that
type
never occurred to me. Cool.
of grains that they're using. Yes, and it doesn't say like the type, like of them, what they did to them, like were they kilned in a certain
Did
way?
they drop them
how
out
heavy
of
they
a
were,
plane
yeah.
and made them figure out if they have the working parachute or not?
Correct.
Did they surf and fall in love?
And I really think that this is kind of like, for those that like the hazy IPA thing just got way blown out and overdone, this is a nice reaction to that, in that it's just a really nice, gentle, soft. It has that hazy vibe because it's juicy, but it's not just juicy. It does have a roundness to it, and it's very approachable. This is a really, really nice, approachable beer for people who are not big beer fans.
I'm also going to do a quick shout out for John's Marketplace where you pick these up, because it actually has date canned on 2/4/23.
Yeah.
And dear listener, that's within 3 weeks of when we're recording. So like they got it quickly.
It didn't sit on the shelf.
Didn't sit on the
forever.
shelf.
This
It
was
merchandised
refrigerated.
quickly.
I'm
Yep.
assuming it was refrigerated in a refrigeration truck on its trip up here from California.
Right.
I would assume. It may not have been, but that's not a very long drive. So
It's
even
not.
then,
This is a fresh beer.
yeah, it's super fresh. It tastes really good. Now, the Johnny Utah, I didn't see a date. There's a serial number on it, but I didn't see a born on date on it or a canned on date.
1/25/2023. So this one's also
Oh, it's
Well,
fairly
within a
Fairly
month.
recent.
That's
fairly
good.
within a month. So yes, and the really nice thing about the beers that they do up there, if you look at the can, what does it say on the top of the can?
We like beer.
California Redemption Value.
No. On the,
We like beer.
That's
Yes.
important.
Please refrigerate it. Warm beer sucks.
Yes, warm beer does suck, and we're going to go back to that. Don't buy beer off the shelf. Buy it out of a cooler, because you don't know how long that's been sitting there. Even if it has a born on date that's within a few months, if it's been sitting warm on a shelf, oh my God, it's probably going to
Should
be
I
bad.
buy it if a guy in a Ronald Reagan mask sprayed it with gasoline fire?
Orange mocha frappuccino.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes,
That would be
Zoolander
really cool.
reference, phenomenal.
You could.
Wake me up before you go.
Yes. All right. So, Brian,
What-
thoughts on this one? I know you haven't really spoken a whole lot about this one yet.
What? I said I thought that went a lot better with the second half
Well,
of the film.
As far as like the hop approach and stuff, because you are not a hop head.
Right. So this is very low on hops. I feel it's got a lot more fruit acidity on it, and it was very kind of light on the palate and very sippable, and I enjoyed it.
Okay. So this has 47 IBUs out of 100. So when
Okay.
you say it's light on hops, again, so teachable moment, everyone.
It's balanced, right?
IBUs don't equate to the bitterness. IBUs are the amount of alpha acidity that's left in the beer from. So they're using really high alpha hops in the making of the beer. But because the malts balance out with the sweetness against that level of acidity, it blends really well.
So
the
basically
flavors-
it cancels out some of the hoppy flavor
Yeah.
that I always kind of react against.
correct.
It's like when you
again,
have a ham and it's salty, and then you put some pineapple on it.
Ugh,
It's like
delicious.
the flavor sort
Yes.
of, then you put a
And then you make
maraschino
a
cherry on top.
pizza out of it.
yes, throw it on some
Hey, who
crust
wants
and
pizza?
some sauce.
I
Yeah.
bet that sounds
Starving.
great. That sounds great.
Right.
Dan, if I can ask, we
Yes.
were talking a moment ago about the freshness of these beers and
Yes.
how they were canned recently, and you were saying, as a kind of cautionary word for our listeners, to buy out of refrigerated cases where you can.
Yep.
Get good beer, get beer that hasn't been sitting, shelf temperature for who knows how long. I'd like to ask: is there a rule of thumb for when does beer become in danger of being heat struck, or when is too long if it's at room temp sitting on the floor somewhere, like
Can or bottle?
cans? We're talking cans
So-
because we're talking to the poor college students in
Yes.
our listener group right now.
So if you don't care about the flavor, buy whatever's cheapest.
Well,
If
that's
you-
what I do. I
If
mean,
you care about the
Same.
flavor,
Hard same.
you're gonna find if you're walking down your grocery store aisle, there may be a few beers in their cooler, and then some sitting on the floor or in front of the cooler
I literally saw that earlier today.
that are getting blown on by warm air as the air comes out of the bottom of the cooler.
I was not aware of the air circulation thing going on,
Yes,
yeah.
just think about that. It's like you're getting hit by warm air, so it's going to be above ambient temperature. So anything above 57 to 62 is going
Cellar
to start
temp.
growing cellar temp. Anything above that's going to start growing a lot of bacteria really fast. So most room temp beers, if it's in a big market that doesn't have a lot of air circulation, that's just stagnant, big open.
Right.
John's Marketplace, both locations are pretty big open spaces, really high ceilings.
Even
So-
in an enclosed container,
Right.
they'll grow bacteria.
correct.
Really? I would have thought the alcohol would have prevented any. Like,
So there's probably about a 2 to 3 week, maybe a month window
okay.
for that to start happening, as far as I've been told. I could be wrong. And also, you don't know, hey, those lights have been on it. It's not going to get light struck, but if it's a bottle, you run the risk of it eventually getting more light struck, which is a different flavor, off flavor thing.
Sunlight, I thought.
But it
would do
also-
that. Yeah.
It promotes the growth of bacteria.
Well, sunlight will mess up wine too. I know.
Oh, it'll
Like,
hard
it's a-
alcohol too. It'll just completely destroy the alcohol flavoring within any hard. So if you're a listener and you have a hard alcohol cabinet, don't put it in front of the window or in sunlight because it'll kill it. It'll destroy the flavor profile.
Grandpappy always kept his liquor in a cupboard, and now I know why.
Yes.
Just keep the
not
kids
hard-
from getting
yeah.
to it.
So
Yeah, right, yeah.
As far as age, so with IPAs and pale ales and things, because they're hop, you're buying it and drinking it because of the hop profile, not because of the malt profile. Dissipates over the first 2 to 3 weeks.
So
it
the
starts
hop
dropping.
profile will kind of denature.
Yes,
just-
it'll dilute enough into the liquid. Because those little molecules are floating around going, hey, I'm a flavor, and then they just break apart
They
and fall
slowly
apart.
they break down over time.
They break down over time. They can't stay cold, allows them not to move as much.
It probably
If
slows
they're
the chemical
warmer, they
reaction.
move faster.
Okay,
So
okay.
that's it's science, you know.
chemistry.
Listeners, tell your friends to listen so we can get enough people to listen so we can get an income from this. We can make a short animated film in the style of the Jurassic Park dinosaur DNA guy to do the molecules, the flavor guy going,
Yes.
I got flavor. And
Start
then,
a GoFundMe, Blake.
it
We
sounds
can
like
do
work.
that.
That's a Dan thing.
So it's
Dan's a
interesting.
producer.
So a lot of the stuff that I know I've learned online and watching video
And by
information
drinking
things
heat-struck beer, also.
and drinking a lot of heat beer.
yeah,
and
that's a tough lesson to learn.
right.
doing beer judging. So for the home brewers that are out there, keep it in a keg, keep it cold. You don't have that problem. If you're bottling or canning your
Keep
beer,
it secret, keep it safe.
keep it cold. Keep it in a refrigerator that's not lit and keep it cold. It'll stay. I've had beers that have lasted up to 3 years in a bottle, in a fridge. That's, the light only turns on when I open the door.
You know what's really funny is like the digger you deep into the ground, the closer the average temperature adheres to a 55 degree like stable temperature, and old school wine cellars built into
Are
the
below
ground,
ground.
55 degrees. Beer, if you want to keep it good for a long time, Dan, based on what you're telling me, 55 degrees. Like
And
that's that. Yep.
Anything above 60 is bad.
All of these traditional food and beverages from before refrigeration was invented, 55 degrees.
Yeah.
And maybe cheese too. I don't know. Maybe cheese might have its own thing.
Cheese will dry out. And I think it's a relative humidity based on the temperature, ambient temperature. The humidity will draw out the water out of the cheese and make it dry out.
Boy, I
faster.
love-
Listener, you heard it here first. Movie and a cheese.
Movie and a beer and a cheese.
I'm sorry, I'm nerding out here.
No, I'm into it. I
I love drinking cheese.
what
As long
cheese
as
would you
it's
eat
queso.
with Point Break?
Provolone?
Pepper Jack. I'm saying Pepper Jack.
What food would you
I'll
order with
go
this
with
movie?
that.
This is a pizza
Nachos.
movie. Nachos and pizza, dude, because they're surfers.
No,
Burritos,
fish tacos.
fish tacos.
Oh, yeah.
Shrimp and
get
fries.
yourself some-
He said
oh
he
my
ordered
God.
shrimp and fries
He
earlier
did.
on.
He ordered some
He
French.
did, well, he
shrimp
also
fries.
like the best meatballs he's ever had in the
Yeah.
whole city. Best
Give
meatball
me
sandwich.
two and a
Yeah,
lemonade.
but
Fish tacos.
So
And
somebody
tacos.
who lives in LA, find that sandwich shop from around the corner from that bank and tell us how good
watch
those-
four gentlemen
From
rob a bank.
1991.
Yeah, 1991. It's probably still there. You never know.
It's high-rise condos now.
Probably. All right. So, any last thoughts on this movie or these beers before we say adieu to
Watch this
our-
movie and drink some beers. This is a
Yeah.
fun movie.
This is a nice movie. Like end of the
yeah,
week, you're gonna
it's
relax.
entertaining, well worth watching at least once.
Yeah.
Not with your kids.
It's a little dated, but it holds up pretty well for being a '90s movie.
I will say I think I enjoyed this movie more having had a beer but rather
yeah.
if I was not having a beer. But like I recommend it. So like I said before, probably 7 out of 10.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to watch this by myself in a dark room.
No. This is a friend movie.
Yeah.
Because we did yell at the screen a few times. We're like, ah.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, there's a little bit of violence and some foul language and some nudity, but it's not gratuitous. And it's not violence porn. It's just like it happens.
There's also gnarly waves, man.
And lots of good waves. So
Yeah.
there's...
Patrick Swayze's chiseled form. Good lord, that man was a statue.
He was.
in 1991.
Beautiful surf photography.
Yeah. I was going
yeah.
to say lots of... If you're into surfing or you want to watch something that has some good photography and videography around surfing, this is a really nice film because it probably one of the first ones that introduce, I mean, other than like the Elvis movies that took place in Hawaii, but those are
Well,
kind of
and
minimal.
that in the mid '70s, Endless Summer was a surfing doc,
Yeah.
which really set the bar
yeah.
for surfing photography.
Yep.
But
This one did really good.
for being a narrative film, a narrative feature, this did really well.
Yeah. It was believable. You could believe, even though you could like see the faces of the stunt doubles and you're just like, yeah, that's not really them, but it's okay. I believe that they're doing the action.
Patrick Swayze cracked 4 ribs doing his surf stunts.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's dangerous.
I
Surfing
don't
is
know.
dangerous.
I
would
totally
never
believed
do
it when Richard Nixon was catching that wave. Like, what are you talking about?
I am not a surfer.
Hydrate if you don't. I've had
You
this
don't hydrate,
giant
you're going to
thing-
dihydrate in a wave, bruh.
in the waves, and we have this giant thing of water in front of us, and none of us have hydrated yet. I've been looking at it, going, God, I really need to get a glass of water.
Someone didn't bring glasses.
They're right in the other room.
You're the host.
I know. I have my own glass, but no one else. Sorry, guys.
Nah, you're fine. You're knocking out of the park,
you
man.
can call me
There's
out
this
on that
giant water bottle in the middle for us.
I mean, I'm
like, for
tempted,
no
I'm
reason.
tempted
Like
to
start-
drink out of the big jug.
Yeah, just start chugging out of it. Yeah, there you go.
So everyone, thank you so much for listening. This is Brian signing off.
all right,
This is
and-
Aaron. Be careful of the 50-year storm.
This is
Thanks for
Blake.
listening.
This is Blake catching a wave out of here. Oh no, I'm crashing the waves. Oh no, Johnny Utah's there. Oh no.
Yes, and those opinions expressed during the taping of this recording are those of the hosts. Be it those hosts that just signed off and myself, Dan. Thank you for listening and hanging in there, and catch some waves, bruh.